Alright, we are now over on the trail, the Beegum trail, going up to Rabun Bald, which is the second highest peak in Georgia. We're getting a later start than we wanted to, so not sure if we're going to make it to the top. We're hoping to. If you see this video, that means we made it to the top and decided to post it. But several trails up Rabun Bald. This is the shortest one, called the Beegum Trail, and it's not too bad so far, but sure it's going to increase in steepness as we go. So hopefully I'll be showing you some views from the top soon. Okay, I believe it's time for a new sign, but it looks like we are 0.7. Somebody carved it in there. 0.7 miles from the summit of Rabun Bald. Are we going to do it or are we not?
Yeah, I mean 0.7 ain't that bad.
Okay. Be honest with you, what we've done so far,
Every year.
It means we've come about a mile, because it's 3.4 miles round trip, 1.7 up. And so I will say this, it's been all uphill so far. That first mile was all uphill. I don't think there was any level spots. So anyway, when you finally do, that's the Beegum Trail, and it's a loop trail. You can just do the loop without going to the summit. But if you want to go on to the summit, once you get to the first level spot, look for these two rocks right here. And a little wooden sign. And we're going to make our way. Alright, we're continuing on and starting to get into a little bit of a rhododendron canopy here. And that's very nice. But this trail has been uphill the whole way. It's not the hardest we've ever been on, but it's a steady climb. Haven't had one level spot yet, so, except for where the junction to the little spur trail is at. But, that we're on now, but it's been a continual climb, so keep on it going. Okay, and a little higher up the Beegum Trail, got a sheet of ice right here, so I'm gonna try to go around that, because that would not be a fun experience. But yes, the higher up we get, cooler it's getting, I suppose. Right now I don't feel too cool, but obviously it is. Oh, we have arrived. A couple of the other trails. Okay, we made it to the top of Rabun Bald. So, got some nice 360-degree views here. We are now on the second highest point in Georgia, so in one day we've been to the highest point, which takes a lot less effort, and the second highest point, which takes a pretty good bit of effort to get up here, because you can't drive up this one. But looking back up into North Carolina, try to get a little closer to the mountain views here. Over here and look to the east into South Carolina. And way out there in the distance, I do believe I've spotted downtown Greenville, South Carolina. no idea if that's showing up or not. Moving on down the Interstate 85 corridor. Let's see, parts of Lake Hartwell where South Carolina and Georgia meet. Looking off down into Georgia now. Really nice views. Do not see the Atlanta skyline from up here. I don't think I'm going to be able to see that from this far east. We are looking back to the west at Rabun Bald, where we were just at before we came here. I know I'm looking into the sun right now. I apologize for that. Alright, well, we have come down off of Rabun Bald, Georgia. We hiked it this evening. We've actually summited the two highest peaks in Georgia in the same day. Now, Rabun Bald is not that hard to do because you drive up to the top and take the shuttle. But Rabun Bald is a little bit more difficult to do because you actually have to hike it. There are several hiking trails that you can use to go up, but because we were getting a late start and short on time, we went up the Beegum Gap Trail, and that's not an easy trail to find if you're not familiar with northeast Georgia, as we weren't. Basically, out of Dillard, I don't even remember the name of the highway now, but you take the little highway that goes up towards Highlands, North Carolina, and then you make a right turn somewhere off of that after you enter North Carolina. You come back down into Sky Valley, Georgia, then you go back up into North Carolina, then you go back down into Georgia again. I think ultimately we turned right on what was called, is it Kelsey Mountain Road?
Yeah, that seems, yeah.
And you actually go through, it's kind of residential. There's houses there. It does not look like you're going to a trailhead, but you do.
Where you park, I mean, it actually says don't block driveways.
Yeah, you can't block driveways.
Houses right through there.
Limited parking there, but we were able to find a space. It wasn't like it was very crowded. There were some cars there. But
most people weren't starting when we were either.
Yeah, so we took the Beegum Gap Trail. It's a loop trail. I'll say more about that in a minute. I'm going to let Shaughnessy go right now and give her impressions of Rabun Bald, which is the second highest point in the state of Georgia.
Well, I'll just start off by saying the view up there is spectacular. Once you're on that little tower viewing area, I mean, it's unobstructed 360 all the way around, so I mean you get to see a lot, and so that was very nice. The trail itself, like he said, it was a loop, so the side we went up really wasn't bad. I mean, it was a constant incline, but it wasn't so bad that it was like, oh, I gotta stop and sit or rest. You know, it was just like, okay, we can keep going. We had to carry the dogs a couple of times, so
especially our little 12-year-old here.
Yes. We met some people come down. There was actually a couple in their 80s, and because fall basically had just ended, there were so many leaves on the trail, and she was saying about how dangerous it was because you don't know what's underneath those leaves. But going up, we were like, you know, this is a good trail.
We didn't know what she was talking about yet.
So anyway, we go up that one side. Like you said, it loops, but you have to go off the loop to actually do the 0.7 to the top.
Yeah, it's a little deceiving. If you look it up online, I'm not going to interrupt. It says it's a 3.4 mile hike, so we're thinking it's 3.4 miles round trip to the summit and back. That's really misleading. The loop itself is 3.4 miles, but like she said, there's a spur off of the loop that's another 0.7 up, another 0.7, another 0.7 back. So you got to add 1.4. So you're looking at actually a 4.8 mile hike, almost 5 miles up and back if you want to go to the summit. So go ahead. I just wanted to throw that in there.
That's fine. That's fine. But so that was fun. And one thing I didn't really look at the excuse me, the map of the trail very good. Just kind of glanced at it, and the way we went up was the shorter portion of the loop. So when we come back, we were going to take the other part of the loop. Well, it was much longer, and it had just as many leaves, but it was more rocky. Had more.
Terrible.
I don't know if it was roots or just ditches, but you had to be very careful. And with us getting such a late start, I mean, what was it? Was after 3 when we started.
Yeah, it was after 3. We were really not wanting to hike in the dark. We didn't come prepared for that.
No flashlights.
We didn't bring our headlamps or flash. The only flashlights we had was our phones.
And I used my phone coming. You know, once we got closer back down. I mean, it wasn't completely pitch black when we got down.
Almost though.
Almost, but yeah.
If I'd had headlamps, I would have liked to have stayed up there for the sun. It was a nice sunset that night.
Yeah.
Because we were seeing it go down through the trees as we were coming down. But
in my opinion, it was a very nice hike. If you've got time to do it,
start a little earlier.
Earlier,
especially this time of year.
And it was very windy at the top. It was cold.
Colder than on Brasstown Bald, believe it or not. It's windier.
Yeah, there wasn't as much wind up there.
Which it was getting late too. So.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it. I really did. Like I said, beautiful views. Yeah, I liked it.
All right, now my thoughts on the Rabun Bald hike were, like she said, the views up there were spectacular. We were about 30 to 35 miles east of Brasstown Bald, so Rabun Bald is actually in the northeast corner of Georgia, just below the North Carolina line and just west of the South Carolina line. So from Rabun Bald, you can see a lot more into South Carolina. I actually was able to spot the skyline of Greenville, South Carolina, from Rabun Bald. You could not see that from Brasstown Bald because it's further west. And you could actually see where, like, the plateau of the mountains just kind of drops off down into the lowlands.
Yeah,
that was really neat. You don't see that from a lot of places.
Neat to see.
Very abrupt. And I liked that. You could not see the Atlanta skyline from Rabun Bald. Now, as far as the hike itself, like she was saying, if you're traveling I know there's another trail called the Bartram Trail. I know nothing about that trail. But I can tell you the Beegum Gap Trail, we took it because it was the shortest. And it is a loop hike, but once you get, let me make this recommendation. From the parking area, you'll see the little sign that says Rabun Bald. It's kind of like on Wizard of Oz, where they got Dorothy comes to the yellow brick road, and she don't know which way to go, and the scarecrow is, right there. If you're facing the trail and you see it going to the right and go to the left, we went to the left. And here's my personal advice: go to the left. Take the spur when you get to it. It's marked by 2 big rocks, and I think there's a sign there. The sign is well worn. It's been carved into it, 0.7 to the summit. It looks like it's been carved out with a knife or something. But there's 2 large rocks right there. But here's my advice: just go to the left and come back down the left.
Yeah, it'd be shorter actually.
It might be a little bit shorter, but I'm going to tell you something. The trail on the left side's a good trail. Both trails are wide. The left and right are wide. I think the right side I read is like a road, like an access road too.
It was, yeah. It was much wider.
But I'm gonna tell you this: it's a lot better trail on the left side. And like she was saying, we didn't know what that lady was talking about. They were coming down. She said something about the leaves covering the path, and they were. I mean, it's fall. All the leaves are off the trees now. The trees are bare. But we weren't having any problems with our footing on the left side. We did do the loop. We came back down the right side, and I would not do that again. It seemed like a lot more leaves in the path, and there were loose rocks everywhere. I think I slipped maybe 10 times.
Yeah, I mean, it
never fell, but there was times I felt like I was going to fall.
If we had went a different time of year, there wouldn't be as many leaves. But
that's true, but still the loose rocks.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
So I would say if you're going to go up the Beegum Gap Trail, just go up to the left, go on up to the observation deck on the Bald, and when you come back, I would come back down the way you come up. That's just my recommendation. Do what you want to do, but would I do that hike again? I would. Now, I will say, as we got towards the top, there were some sheets of ice on the trail, too. It became icy at the top. Like she said, it was very windy. She said it was very windy, very cold. The views were amazing. Would I do that hike again? I would not drive the 3 hours from home to do it, because we got some good hikes that are a lot closer. But I am glad I did it. If I were back in that area again, I would definitely do it. It was worth doing. The trail, like she said, was pretty steady most of the way up, at least until we got to the junction where the 0.7 mile spur trail was.
it was pretty much uphill all the way. I don't remember one level spot before we got to the junction.
No, I don't remember any level spot, but you know, I wasn't sore the next day.
No, I wasn't either. It wasn't enough mileage to make us sore. Like, you know, Mount Cameron, I was sore for 3 days. That was over 11.5 miles. Yeah, this was not I would rate it moderately strenuous. It was not extremely strenuous. I would say moderate to strenuous, just because, you know, like I said, we were wearing heavy coats. We're each carrying a dog. Dogs are staying home next time we do that hike.
Yeah, they're not meant for anything over half a mile.
And the one I was carrying, he's 12 years old. He didn't want to be carried. He wanted to do it. It wasn't because he couldn't do it. He wanted to. I worry about him at his age, you know, and you know.
And he wants to stop and sniff and
and stop and sniff. He causes a lot of delays like that. But so I carried him most of the way, let him down a little bit coming down. But there is an observation deck at the top. I do want to say you want to be very careful on those steps as you're going down it, especially. There's 2 sets of steps that go up to that observation deck on Rabun Bald, and the first set's not as bad. The second step, the steps are very narrow.
They get narrower as you go up.
And as you're coming down, you want to watch your footing because you could fall and hurt yourself. But yeah, it's a good hike. It was very pleasant. As far as the day goes, there was hardly a cloud in the sky. It was starting to cloud up a little, but love to have been up there for sunset, but we just didn't want to walk down in the dark. And we did get back to our vehicle about dark. So anyway, that's our final thoughts on Rabun Bald. Second highest mountain in Georgia at an altitude of 4,696 feet. And very nice. If you're in the area of Dillard or Clayton, Georgia, and you want to do a short hike with a good view, that would be the one I would recommend. So if you like this video, please do like and subscribe, and we would appreciate it, and have a blessed day.